Good morning, everyone. Glad to be back with you all this morning. It's a little warm outside today, but we have to take the good with the bad, and I guess this is part of the bad, but it'll get better. It's gonna get hotter before it cools off. So anyway, appreciate y'all being here this morning with me. Something I always look forward to every week, and I've enjoyed it very much. Enjoyed it last Sunday out at the river, and this week I was asked to go to a friend of mine's house. We didn't determine exactly when, but he wanted to take me down to the lake, and so I said, well, let me see if I can come up with a sermon for the lake, and I'll do that. But anyway, I was running behind this morning, so I decided, well, I'll just come here to the office today and do it. Thought about going to the park, but I didn't have a chance to get over and get set up and everything, so we'll just do it here today. And so anyway, hopefully it'll work out. Today we're going to be in John chapter 4. We're not going to read the whole chapter, just a little bit of it. We covered that chapter here back on Mother's Day, remember? And so anyway, there's just a little bit there I want to talk about today. But a couple things I want to talk about first. Y'all know since I started this just a little over 2 months ago, there's two things that I haven't asked for, and I'm still not asking for. One is money, because it's not costing me anything to do this, so I don't need any money for that. I mean, I already own the Bible, already own the cell phone, already paying a phone bill, so there's nothing to charge for. It's not costing me anything other than my fuel to get from one point to another, and I'd be doing that anyway. So anyway, I just want to clear that up. I don't need you to send me money. I don't want you to. And another thing I haven't asked you to do is follow me to church. I haven't said go to church. I haven't said not to, but I haven't said to either. Remember last week I said going to church is a good thing. We're supposed to assemble with the saints. Okay, but I'm not telling you to go to church. Assembling with the saints and going to church is not, doesn't always work hand in hand. And I certainly wouldn't tell you to go to the church of your choice or my choice or anything else. And let me try to explain that here in a few minutes, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I mean, to go to a good church, that's great. I mean, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Taking part in the singing or the preaching or whatever it may be, there's nothing wrong with that. And I wouldn't try to discourage anybody from that in any way whatsoever. But that's not my purpose. I truly believe when Jesus gave that commandment, go make disciples, that's what he meant. And so that's what I prefer to do. I mean, now I have invited you to invite me to your house to do this there, and that's still an open invitation. I mean, if any of y'all decide you want to do that, that's fine. I'll try to do that any way I can. But like I say, I haven't invited you to church, any particular church. I wasn't sent to do that. Jesus said, go make disciples. And here about a year and a half or so ago, the elders in my church asked me to start a jail ministry. And so I said, let me think about it a little bit. And I did. And I took them up on that, and they didn't tell me what to teach or how to teach or anything else. I said, you're in charge of it. You handle it any way you want to. And I found a partner to go with me, and we worked real good together. We both enjoyed it. We can't get in there now, so that's not taking place. But sometime back, I went to them and I said, look, my spirit is moving me to do more. I feel like I need to do more. And they told me, says, go teach. They didn't tell me what to teach. where to teach, anything else. They didn't tell me bring people into the church, anything else. They just said go teach. So that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, they didn't give me any other instructions, and so I guess they got confidence in me to do that, as far as I know. And until they tell me different, till Jesus tells me different, I'm going to continue to try to teach, because I think that's what it's all about. But anyway, in John chapter 4, we're just going to read a little bit here. You remember, that's where Jesus come to the Samaritan woman at the well. He met her at the well. She goes back into town, and she brings the people out to where they're at. And when they're on their way back, in verse 34, Jesus said to them, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me, and to accomplish his work. Do you not say, there are yet 4 months, and then comes the harvest? Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, that they are white for harvest. Already he who reaps is receiving wages, and is gathering fruit for life eternal, that he who sows and he who reaps may rejoice together. For in this case the saying is true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not labored. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor." You see? So, I mean, like I say, going to church is great. It's wonderful. Nothing wrong with it at all. Don't think I'm running that down any at all. But, and I'm going to probably catch some slack over this, but that's okay. I've done that before, and I'll deal with it. Going to church, meeting with people there, participating or listening to the singing, music, whatever you got, listening to the preacher preach, partaking the Lord's Supper, whatever it is that you do, that's fine. That's great. Nothing wrong with it. Matter of fact, I'd encourage it. But if that's all you're doing, listen to me. Jesus says the fields are ripe for the harvest, but the workers are few. Now that is just as true today as it was when Jesus made that statement right there in Samaria. It's just as true today. The workers are very few. Very few people that are willing to go out and tell the story of Jesus. And to me, that's sad. Extremely sad. I mean, go to church and participate in all these things. Tithe, whatever it is you do. That's great. I wouldn't discourage that for nothing in the world. But is that all we should be doing? I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. If I don't see a church that is training up disciples to go out and work in the harvest field, Jesus, and bring people to salvation, I'm not going to try to get you to go to that church. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, I understand the concept of going to church and listening to a preacher and learning. And that's all good. That's all great. That's wonderful. But what do we do with that? What do we do with it? I mean, just like last week we was talking about the Spirit flowing like a river. This good news that Jesus gives to us, that we learn from him and the apostles, are we going to keep it to ourselves, or are we going to share it with others? I mean, you know, what's Jesus think about that? I mean, he came to this earth, lived the life that he lived, died the death that he died, so that we can go to church for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours a week or whatever it may be and say, I feel good about myself. I feel good about myself. I've done what I'm supposed to do. And maybe you're okay with that. Maybe that makes you happy. I don't know. But that doesn't satisfy me. It doesn't satisfy me at all. I mean, when I'm driving down the street, or I'm walking into a store or whatever, and I look around me and I see people that are going to hell because nobody's telling them about Jesus. And I can't judge who's going to hell and who's not. That's not my place to do that. But is it okay for me to just ignore them? I mean, not try to do anything at all to tell them about Jesus? I mean, I know churches say, well, we're sending missionaries here and we're sending missionaries there. What about the people next door? What about your friends? People you work with? Your family? I mean, we got people right here in Crockett, Texas that are not hearing about Jesus. I mean, and I've heard people say, well, just go out there and live a good life and people will see Jesus in you. Let me tell you something, I've known a lot of people that claim to be atheists that live a good life. I mean, but if you think going out there and living a good life, being nice to everybody, is going to bring people to Jesus, I'll tell you what, next time you go walking in the church door, look behind you and see how many people are following you. Look and see how many people are following you to Jesus just by you being a nice person and not being willing to stand up and say, let me tell you about the Jesus that I know. Let me tell you what he's done for me, and what he's continuing to do for me, and what he'll do for you. I mean, to me, this is very sad. I mean, it breaks my heart, really. I mean, I've talked to a lot of friends and a lot of people that I don't even know, you know, about Jesus. And some of the things that I hear, they don't go along with what the Bible teaches. I mean, preachers say this, preachers say that. And I say, okay, where'd they get that from? Where's that coming from? I mean, is it coming from the Bible? I mean, when I hear a preacher standing up before the church preaching, and he's quoting from commentators or that people or whatever it may be, I'm going to tell you something, he's not prepared to preach. And you know, if I hurt your feelings for that, I'll just tell you, you're not prepared to preach. Because if you're prepared to preach, you're going to teach from Jesus and the apostles. You don't need to preach what somebody else said. I mean, that's what's got us in this shape we're in now. We're preaching what we've been taught by others. We're not digging into the scriptures and seeing what Jesus and the apostles are teaching us. I mean, you know, Jesus gave us all the commandments that we need. We don't need any other commandments other than what Jesus said, because we're not even doing them. And then when they turn to the epistles, Romans and on from there, and treat them like that's more laws that's been added. That's not more laws that's been added, I can assure you. That is letters of encouragement, letters to straighten out problems that's come up in the church, things like that. It's not more laws added to what Jesus has already given us. He's gave us everything that we need. He gave us the apostles to teach these things to us, to explain these things to us in a little more detail. But, I mean, think about it. If the Jews couldn't keep the laws that God gave them through Moses, and we can't even keep the commandments of Jesus, What's the point in adding more laws to that? I mean, and then you got churches out here that are adding other things. And I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I mean, but I listen to people, and they tell me what's being taught in their churches and things. Is it out in the Bible? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I don't know either. I mean, some of this stuff just, it blows my mind. I mean, because most of what I'm getting from people out here is, well, you need to go to church. You need to go to church. Well, what does that mean? I mean, it's like everything revolves around the building. And that's not what God wants everything to revolve around. It revolves around Jesus and people, not a building. I mean, but we want people to go to church, not cause any problems, show up regular, participate in things, tithe, whatever else. But where are we connecting with the people? I mean, I know we're supposed to assemble with the saints. I know that. We need to do that. That's important. I mean, it's kind of like if you take some charcoal and you lay it out there, put it in a pile, put your lighter fluid on it, and light it. You ain't going to get it burning if you don't put it in a pile. You put it in a pile, put your lighter fluid on it, put a match to it, and let it burn. And it will burn hot. You reach in there and you take one of them coals out and set it over here by itself. It's not going to burn, it's going out. And that's the way we are. If we try to be by ourselves, stand up by ourselves, and be a follower of Christ, that's hard to do. Your fire's going to go out. We need one another. I mean, we do. But what are we doing while we're together? What are we doing when we leave from one another? I mean, we can't just keep it in the building. We got to take it with us. We got to share it. We got to encourage one another. I mean, it's not all about what goes on in the building. And then we dispute about that. Well, these people over here, they're doing this wrong. Then people over there, they're doing that wrong. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to look it up and read it to you. But when Jesus, after his resurrection, he's talking to Peter. He tells him, this is what you're going to do, and that's what you're going to do, and they're going along there. Peter looks behind him, and he sees John following. He says, well, what about him? And I'm not wording this exactly right, but Jesus told him, he said, don't you worry about him. You do what I'm telling you to do. Do what I'm telling you to do. I mean, we don't need to be worrying about other people, what they're doing, unless we're trying to teach them about Jesus. But talking about what other people do wrong and all that, that's not helping the situation any. I mean, let them answer to their own master. Let them answer to their own master. I mean, I got to answer to my master. You got to answer to your master. I mean, the question we have to ask, who is my master? Who is my master? I mean, we can't do it our way. I mean, we got to follow what Jesus said, what he teaches, what the disciples teach. And, move away from some of this other stuff, because it's dragging the church down. It's dragging people down. I mean, when Jesus said the workers are few, that's still true today. Still true today. I mean, I know we don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want to take a chance of embarrassing ourselves or being ridiculed or whatever. I tell you, that's temporary. That's all temporary. But Heaven is eternal. Hell is eternal. I mean, we got to take a stand now for what we're going, where we're going. I mean, afterward is too late. I mean, we're deciding where we're going right now. I mean, so let's get focused. Let's get focused on Jesus and teaching His Word, making disciples, or becoming a disciple. I mean, a lot of people say, well, you focus too much on baptism. No, it's not baptism. It's not baptism what I'm talking about. It's not the fact you get wet. What I want you to understand is what Jesus commanded us to do. And if we're going to be followers of Jesus, we need to know what He commands. We need to obey His commands. See? It's not the fact I want you to get wet, or I want anybody else to get wet. It's what Jesus commanded. And it's obedience. That's faith. That's faith. I mean, to hear, believe, and obey. Just to believe, that's not enough. I mean, I think we've said before, over in James chapter 2, I believe it is, even the demons believe and shudder. See, they believed, they didn't have faith. I mean, they didn't demonstrate the faith that Jesus requires to do. I mean, He requires obedience out of us. I mean, we can't live our lives the way we want to. Anyway, I hope y'all got something out of this today. I think next week I'll go out to the lake with this other man, or try to if something else doesn't come up. If y'all got anything you want me to, somewhere you want me to be or whatever, let me know. I might even schedule 2 in a day. It doesn't matter to me. 3, if that's what it takes. I mean, if I can teach Jesus, I'm ready. I'm ready. I mean, nothing makes me happier than to talk about Jesus. So, anyway, I love y'all, and I'll talk to you again next time.